Good morning. How's everybody doing? This is Uncle Lou. Yep, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, live for you on LouTube today. Yeah, thanks for watching. Per usual, of course, obviously, I appreciate it. We got a good show today. We're going to get Lawtide on here in just a second. Here, he's an Alabama fan. A lot of you guys already know who he is. And if you do, that's great. But he's an Alabama fan. He also has a YouTube channel. If you just search up Lawtide in the YouTube search bar, you will find him without a problem. He's been doing this a long time. We're going to talk a little bit about that when we get him on here. He's actually the one that got me started. So search for him. Try to find him. Again, this is Uncle Lou. You're watching Uncle Lou Live. We do this every Monday and Wednesday at the same time, 3 o'clock Eastern. Also have a Tuesday night and a Thursday night show. It's a little different. We usually stream NCAA college football on the Xbox and just talk football on those. This one's a little more structured every Monday and Wednesday at 3. So again, thanks to everybody who's joined. And without any further ado, or maybe just a little bit more ado, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Alabama fan, Lawtide. What's going on, Lawtide?
What's going on, Uncle Lou? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good.
That's awesome, man. Awesome.
I really appreciate you coming on.
What's the temperature down there today? That's all I want to ask you.
What's that?
What's the temperature down there today?
Oh man, it's it was about 72 degrees this morning. It's about 78 or 79 right now. It's supposed to get up to, I think, 82 today. I mean, it's been nice. It's a little bit overcast, but I'm not going to complain, man. I'm so sick of the cold weather. I love this time of year.
Oh, I do too, man. It's crazy having this type of, weather in February, but, just part of living in the South.
That's right. It is what it is. Well, I don't know if you heard me or not. I introduced you a little bit at the beginning of the show. I told everybody, you're Lawtide Alabama fan. You have a YouTube channel. You've been doing it a long time. But just let us know just real quick. I tell the story about how I got started all the time, which was basically, you found me on YouTube and got me doing it. But let people know, and I'm not even sure I know, how you got started making the Alabama YouTube videos.
Oh, no. Okay. It's real funny. I used to do blog TV shows whenever blog TV was real big back in the day.
Right.
I know some people probably don't even know what that is, but it used to be a little, blog TV website you could go on and do your little live shows or whatever. And I met a guy on there called Cowboy in Tennessee, 1979, and found out he did Alabama videos. Didn't really know that, that they got famous doing the Alabama-Tennessee video, but, kind of caught on to his show. And one day he said, "Hey, Lawtide, why don't you just get on here and make a video with us on YouTube?" And, there's a bunch of us on here, a bunch of Bama fans, and a lot of them, they drank beer. There was a little community called the BDU, Beer Drinkers United. And, they asked me to join up, do that. So, hey, I was young and green, so I figured I'd do it. And, I started making videos. Did my first Alabama video whenever Don V310, he's a Virginia Tech fan. He come out in 2009 and was talking trash about Alabama, how they was going to beat us up. We played them in Atlanta that year. And so I had to get up and respond to him. So that was my first trash talking video, if you will. But the guy that got me on here was old Cowboy. So, that's my story. And I've been on here, raising a little heck and, ruffling some feathers, if you will. But it's been fun. It's been a real fun time. And, got to meet some cool YouTubers, got to meet you, and talked to you quite a bit online a little, and it's just been real fun in our little community,
Yeah, I talk about this every time I have somebody from YouTube on, but a lot of people are just under the impression that we all hate each other. You probably get some of that too, but it's kind of hard to explain. I guess it's like you said, it's like a small little community. I hate Alabama and I pick on Alabama fans, but you do the same thing for Georgia and Georgia fans and Auburn fans and Tennessee and Tennessee fans. That's just sort of what we do. But we are sort of like a family. I know you're close with BVD. I've talked with BVD, a million times. A lot of Gator Boo, he's not making videos anymore, but a lot of us that are fans of different teams, we don't actually hate each other, and that comes as a surprise to some people.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. I don't hate anybody on the internet. I mean, this is just a hobby for me. You know, getting on here and having a good time. But you know, I know how it is. You know, people you know, do take offense to what I say about their fan base, and you know, and I don't take any offense to what they get back. So you know, I take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I mean, you've been doing this a long time, so you've seen it all. But the funnest thing now to me that I've been doing it for a few years, because you know, Tennessee fans, they get what we do by now because we play them every year, so we make Tennessee videos every year. Same with South Carolina and Auburn and Florida. But when we get to play that team that's not in the SEC, you mentioned Virginia Tech, for Georgia this past year, Oklahoma, Notre Dame. That's when it really gets fun because you attract a lot of viewers who don't normally watch what we do, and so they see those videos and they really get mad, don't they?
Oh yeah, they get really upset. The Ohio State fans are the worst.
Oh, amen, brother.
I mean, they're probably the worst on the internet. You know, they don't have no pity on you. You know, they think they're the best thing since sliced bread, and they're going to tell you about it every time. You know, you can't get up here and say anything about them. Don't matter if they're 0-12. That's just how the Buckeyes are.
Of course, Big Ten still hasn't scored a point in the college football playoff since 2015, but that's neither here nor there for the purposes of this conversation. But, Lawtide, normally when I have somebody on that's a fan of another team, the first question I ask them about their team is always the same. What are, as a fan, what are your expectations for your team for next year? That seems like a pointless question to ask an Alabama fan. I think we all know what Alabama fans' expectations are, but I'm going to ask you anyway. As an Alabama fan, what are your expectations for 2018?
Just more of the same. Just you know, more of the process. Seeing how more of these young kids are going to come in and you know, and play. You know, and how Nick Saban's going to do with this new coaching staff we got coming in. So the expectations are always high. They always will be at the University of Alabama. You know, Nick Saban, he built this monster. And, you know, all we're going to do is ride that horse until it bucks us. So I expect us, you know, at least be in the playoff picture. But main thing is get to Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, I've said before, I think Alabama fans and Clemson fans, I think those are really the only two fan bases who can realistically, at this point, expect a college football playoff berth every year. In other words, if you're an Alabama fan or a Clemson fan and you don't make the playoffs, I think you have a right to be legitimately disappointed. Some of these other teams, Georgia included, who have made the playoffs one or two times, I don't really think those fan bases should set their expectations that high. You look at Ohio State, Michigan State, Oregon made it, you know, Georgia has made it. I mean, sure, though, you know, we want to get back to the college football playoff, but nobody has done it as consistently as Alabama. And now I think you got to put Clemson in that category too. They've made the playoff now 3 years in a row. I'm not saying they're on the same level as an Alabama. Obviously, Alabama's got all the national titles. Clemson's got one, talking about recent times here. But in terms of expectations, I feel like Alabama fans and Clemson fans deserve to expect to make the playoff.
Oh, yes, I agree. Dabo's done a great job up there, and, you know, especially recruiting, I mean, all over the country. I mean, used to Clemson just pretty much, you know, recruited Florida and recruited South Carolina and, you know, and a little bit of Tennessee, but now they're everywhere. You know, they're a brand name now. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, they come into Georgia and get a couple of players every year. Talking about Clemson, of course, they got Trevor Lawrence this year. Everybody knows Deshaun Watson was from Georgia. Kirby's trying to change that around a little bit, but I'm not going to complain about losing Trevor Lawrence when I look at our recruiting class this year. And I want to ask you about that too. Now, I have a feeling you're a little bit more realistic than most, but it seems to me a little unfair for Alabama fan to brag about having the #1 recruiting class in the nation for 7, 8, 9 years in a row, and then when Georgia gets the recruiting class, they tell me, well, recruiting doesn't matter. Of course it matters, right?
Oh, yes, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I mean, winning the national championship and recruiting, that's all that matters.
Right. It all starts there, and then people love to say, and Alabama fans have heard this for years with the recruiting classes you guys have had, but they always say the same thing. Just because he's a 5-star, he could still be a bust, or they'll say there's more 4-stars in the NFL than there is 5-stars. Well, of course there's more 4-stars in the NFL. There's only about 15 5-stars a year. that come out of high school. There's hundreds of 4-stars. So just numbers alone tells you you're going to have more 4-stars. But you ask any fan of any team, would you rather have a recruiting class full of 25 5-stars or a recruiting class full of 25 3-stars? They're all going to say 25 5-stars, or else they're lying to your face.
Yeah, exactly. The most that you can get out of a player is when they come in and they're really discouraged that they didn't get a five-star and they thought they were a 5-star player. So it really adapts to a bunch of competition on the field, and that's what Nick Saban likes to bring with his program. Just competition.
Well, and that's, I mean, I don't think it's a secret. Kirby's trying to mimic a lot of what Nick Saban has developed at Alabama, but you talked about competition, and that starts on the practice field. I mean, teams like Alabama have 5-star starters practicing against 5-star backups every single day in practice, and stuff like that matters in the end. Does it mean that you're always going to go undefeated when you've had the #1 recruiting class? No, it doesn't, but it sure does start there. And Alabama has really benefited, I think, from that competition on the practice field.
Oh yes, it's just. They compete in so many things. Even in the classroom, they want to compete in the classroom. People want to talk about, you go to Alabama, you're not going to get a degree. You look at the, statistics. Alabama's graduating probably more or right up there with, with the top teams in the SEC. So, but it's all about, getting to the SEC championship with this team next year, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I have to ask you this question. I'm sure you've been asked this probably a million times since the second half of the national title game. But who is Alabama's starting quarterback next year?
Man, that's going to be a tough question. I want to say, Tua's probably got the momentum coming off the national championship, the way he played in that second half. It was unbelievable. It was, it was something to see.
Yeah, it was.
But Hurts, he was the one that got us there. He got us to a national championship the year before. He ran off 2 5-stars and a 4-star quarterback. They all transferred. So, he's got a heart of a champion. I would love for both these quarterbacks to stay, but I see one of them transferring.
So you don't think there's any chance, because I've heard some people mention this, myself included, that it might be in Hurts' best interest to change positions?
Maybe so, but at this time he thinks he's a quarterback.
Right.
And that's what he wants to do. I think Dabo, the guy that just left, just voted after 1 year, was putting it in his head that he could be a polished quarterback. He could make it to the NFL, and maybe they were working towards that.
Yeah.
But with him leaving like he did, that showed me right there that he didn't really have any confidence in him.
Right.
And he didn't really want to be at Alabama. So it's hard to tell. I could see him going back to Texas, to tell you the truth, if he doesn't win this starting job, because he's a superstar, and you can say he can't throw the ball deep, he can't do that, but he does everything to it's top notch. Nick Saban kept him in there because he didn't turn the ball over. That's the reason why he played. So, that's the reason why he played games that he played bad in. That's the reason why Tua didn't come in. But as far as, this competition, it's going to come down to probably, it might come down to summer. Who knows?
Yeah. This is Uncle Lou here. You're listening to the Uncle Lou Show live. We do this every Monday and Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. I have Law Tide on the line. He's a YouTube personality and Alabama fan. If any of you guys in the comment section have questions for Law Tide, you can type them in, and I'll try to get to them. As a Georgia fan, Law Tide, I can tell you 100% without a doubt that I am praying Jalen Hurts wins that starting job. I haven't been a believer in Hurts for a while. I don't think he's a quarterback. I don't think he's a dual threat quarterback. I think he's a single threat quarterback. He can run and he can't throw. I'll say this about Tua though. I was very impressed, obviously, with what he did, and I was impressed. As great as Nick Saban is, I didn't think even he would have the balls to make that decision at halftime of the national title game. You mentioned Hurts' record, something like 25-2 as a starter or something like that. I didn't even think Saban would have the guts to pull him at halftime like he did. And looking back on it now, I wish you guys would have scored a touchdown in the first half, and maybe Saban would have left him in. But, I mean, that's water under the bridge now. But I don't know. I think Tua obviously looked better in the national championship game, but how much can you really tell off of one half? I think it's a totally different scenario when a guy knows he's the starter and has to go to sleep at night knowing he's the starter. I just feel like there's a lot more pressure there. In the national title game, he sort of just got thrown in and didn't have any time to think about it. And, of course, Georgia, it was pretty obvious to me, didn't spend any time preparing for a passing quarterback leading up to that game. I think they prepared the whole week to stop Hurts running the ball, and they did a pretty good job. I mean, we saw what happened in the first half. Our defense pretty much shut you guys down, but we had no answers for Tua in the second half. So we'll see if Tua's the starter, how he looks when teams have a chance to prepare for him and he knows that he's the starter. But I have a feeling it's going to be Tua.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, he just got the better arm, and he's a more complete passer. I mean, it'll just, nobody will be able to put 8 in the box anymore.
Yeah.
On Alabama, so it'll be deadly.
Yeah. Daniel Moore in the comment section wants to know, other than Hurts, because we already talked about Hurts, are there any other current Alabama players that you expect to transfer due to lack of playing time? Any running backs y'all need to get rid of?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe Richardson, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe him, because he'd just be he's just left out of the rotation. But we'll need him next year. I mean, everybody. I don't see too many that will transfer, but if it happens, it happens. But we need a lot of help in the defensive backfield, and we lost a lot. We're losing Minka. We lost Everett. We lost Ronnie Harrison. Lost Hootie Jones. So we do have a lot to replace in that backfield. That's probably where I would think that maybe one or two maybe would transfer.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, we'll see when spring ball gets started.
Well, the GOAT Watson, a Clemson fan, in the comments section, he's got 2 questions. Can you see a potential rematch next year in the national title game between Clemson and Alabama?
Why not? It could happen. I'm anxious to see how good that D-line is coming back off of how Alabama really manhandled them in that national championship. Because that was a mind thing. Those 2 of those kids I thought were going to the NFL, and they decided to come back. So I tell you right there, they're motivated. So I'm anxious to see how they'll be on defense. As far as our offense, Kelly Bryant's been exposed, so I'm anxious to see if Trevor Lawrence gets that starting nod.
Yeah.
But I could see it. I mean, it could happen, but there's a long ways to go until then. And anything can happen until then. So.
Yeah. I think Clemson and Alabama will definitely be in everybody's preseason top. I mean, that's probably your top 2 in almost every preseason poll you're going to see come out over the next couple of months. I think is going to be Alabama and Clemson. I think you'll probably have Ohio State and Georgia rounding out the top 4. Pretty much whatever order you want to put those teams in, but I think that's pretty much going to be the preseason top 4 for most of the polls that you see. Let's see. We got somebody who wants to know how many years do you think Nick Saban has left? Please say like 1 or 2.
Well, he's been telling everybody that he's going to at least coach 5 or 6 more years. I mean, that's what he's got left on his contract.
Yeah.
So I don't see. I mean, he's running things right now. So we'll see. I mean, he might get tired of it and want to go sit in the yard and feed the ducks. Who knows?
Do you think somebody like a Nick Saban is more likely to retire after a national title win? Or do you think he may stick around to the point where you don't win a title for 2, maybe 3 years in a row, and then he says, "Well, it's not working anymore"? What do you think about that? What's more likely to happen?
I don't think it'll matter if he goes out on top or not. I mean, he's proved everything he's ever had to prove. I mean, he could walk away right now, and everybody knows he's the greatest coach to ever live.
Yeah.
So, if he decides to hang it up in a year or 2, us Bama fans will hey, we'll stand up, we'll clap him on, and thank him.
Yeah, I don't think he has anything to prove to anybody at this point. I think it's pretty obvious he's the greatest coach of all time. But the shipping department wants to know, are you concerned about Alabama's drop in recruiting this year? Do you think it's a one-year hiccup or trouble on the horizon?
I think it's a one-year hiccup. Jeremy Pruitt, going to Tennessee, kind of hurt us. I mean, he's a big-time recruiter. Everybody knows it. We had a lot of needs on the defensive side of football. With him leaving, it kind of hurt us. But I think we'll be back next year. He's then went out and hired Miami's defensive line coach to come up here and coach with him. I think that's going to help.
Yeah.
Got Penn State's receiver coach coming in. They say he's a good recruiter. Texas A&M's old special teams coach. They say he's one of the best in the nation. So I think we'll be back next year. I don't think we're going to have to go far either. There's a lot of talent in Alabama this year. We got Tua's brother. We're going to be after him. And, there's a lot of big-time linemen in Alabama this year, 5 stars. We'll be after them, too. So, look out. Alabama, we ain't going anywhere. As long as Nick Saban's at Alabama, we're going to be just fine.
Yeah, and I promise nobody feels sorry for Alabama because they came in 6th in recruiting this year. I can promise you that. And BVD wants me to remind you that Tennessee is better than Bama, ... in women's basketball.
Well, not this year because we beat them.
Sorry, BVD. Maybe baseball season is starting up. Maybe Tennessee will have a chance. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. Let me ask you this, Law Tide. This is something I've been wondering, and a lot of people ask me this. Does Alabama consider Georgia a rivalry game?
I don't know. It's becoming a big-time rivalry.
That's how I see it, too. I don't think it's like a traditional type rivalry thing, but the whole Saban versus Kirby thing, and, both teams seem to be at the top of their divisions right now. So I think it might be like a flavor of the week type rivalry, but not like a – yeah. Squidtard wants to know, and obviously we know you're going 12-0, but Squidtard wants to know, give us a couple of games that Alabama has next year that if things went bad could be potential losses. I'm not expecting you to predict any Alabama losses, but what games are you looking at and maybe saying, well, that has the potential to give us some problems?
LSU's always tough, and it'll be at night. That's always one I always circle. Always circle the Auburn game. And, you can't never tell how the teams are going to come out in the first game. So, even though we're playing Louisville and they don't have one of their, they don't have the former Heisman Trophy winner coming back, I always worry about them. So we play Louisville first game of the year down there in Orlando. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah. Well, Law Tide, I really appreciate you coming on today. I'm going to let you go. We're gonna take some phone calls now, but like I said, you guys make sure you look up Law Tide on YouTube. If you just search Law Tide in the search bar, he will come up. I promise. You guys click him up, give him a sub, check out some of his videos. And Law Tide, thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, man. Anytime. Look forward to more of the videos, and everybody stay tuned. You can't never tell what's going to see out of me. So y'all have a good one.
All right, Law Tide. Thanks. All right, yeah, that was Law Tide there. Like I've mentioned several times, he has a YouTube channel. You guys check it out. Just search for Law Tide. I promise you, it will come up, and you'll find it. Okay, now just like I promised you guys, we are going to open up these phone lines here in just a second. I've been shortchanging you guys on the phone calls over the last couple of shows or whatever, so we're going to do our best to fix that today. So let me just where is it? Here it is. There you go. Call me quick, call me. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, a lot of people ask me all the time, Georgia-Alabama rivalry. And, of course, we don't play every year, and traditionally we haven't played every year, even though we've been in the SEC forever together for a long time. It's just not a traditional rivalry. Now, Alabama obviously is going to be on the top of their game as long as they have Nick Saban. If Georgia can continue to win the East, most years, then I think it has the potential to develop into something. And, of course, we do play at Alabama coming up in a couple of years. But anyway, let's see if we can get these phone calls working today. Hey, good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Good morning. Hey, I'm back, bro. I'm back, and I got something to say.
Yeah, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. I don't know if you're on speakerphone or what, but there's a bunch of background noise, and we can't hear anything you're saying.
What's up, nigger? Okay. Hey,
Sorry about that. For anybody that heard that, I'll have to go in and just block that number from calling. But it's amazing what some people will say when they have anonymity on their side. But yeah, he went ahead and used the N-word there. Anyway, let's get on to the next one. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou. That it? Is that it? You had 2 days, and that's all you could come up with. What a shame. What a shame. Trolls are losing today. You're on with Uncle Lou.
hello?
Yeah, you're on.
Lou, you on?
Yeah, are you?
Yeah, I'm looking at your live stream. It's not showing you talking to me.
Well, there's a delay, but why don't you just go ahead?
Alrighty, so I got a little out there, not SEC. I'm a big Notre Dame fan. Was at the Notre Dame Georgia game. Just had a question as far as you think Notre Dame's ever going to get back to where they were, or is the SEC and the ACC kind of?
I think Notre Dame has the potential to get back to being a serious national title contending team. I mean, they played for a national title 5 years ago. They came close this past year. They sort of fell apart at the end of the season. And Notre Dame does have a lot of history and tradition. They're always going to recruit well. I think not being in a conference at this point is holding Notre Dame back. It's not 1988 anymore. I really think they should consider joining a conference, the Big Ten, the ACC, what they want to join. I'm sure any conference would be more than happy to take Notre Dame just because of the TV revenue alone and the market share that they would gain by including a team like Notre Dame in the conference. But that would be my advice to Notre Dame if they were listening to Uncle Lou. But after the videos I made this past season, something tells me that they're not listening to Uncle Lou. But that's fine. Brian Kelly's still an atheist. Touchdown Jesus is backsliding. If Notre Dame gets any worse, Touchdown Jesus is liable to convert to Islam. But anyway, I do think Notre Dame has the potential to get back to being a decent team. We'll see. Thank you for your call, Notre Dame fan. I appreciate that, and I'm glad you weren't too mad about the videos. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hey, Uncle Lou, how you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I'm a Florida fan, and I just want to ask you, do you think Dan Mullen could have similar success as his former boss, I guess, Urban Meyer? And if so, how long could that take?
I do not think he's as good of a coach as Urban Meyer. In my opinion, Urban Meyer is one of the top 3 or 4 coaches in America. As much as I hate Ohio State, you can't deny what Urban Meyer's done. He's won everywhere he's been. He averages 11, 12 wins a year over his career. That's not easy to do. So it's hard for me to say that Dan Mullen is going to come anywhere close to being an Urban Meyer. With that being said, I think any coach at Florida has the potential to win a national title. that you're loaded with high school talent. You could throw a rock from your campus and hit a dozen 5 stars and highly rated 4 stars. So I think any coach has the potential to put together a run and win a national title, but I don't think Dan Mullen is as good as Urban Meyer. I do think Dan Mullen is better than your last 2 coaches.
Okay, yeah, I definitely agree with that. I don't think he's as good as Meyer either, because Meyer's going to go down as one of the best of all time up there with Saban in some ways. But and my second question, this will be my last question. How good do you think the offense will improve? Personally, I think it'll be a top 10 possibly from where we were, which is terrible with McElwain, because we have a lot of good wide receivers and running backs and a lot of depth, with including transfers and guys like Jacob Copeland and stuff like that. Obviously, the big question has been quarterback, and personally, I don't think Franks is the answer. I think we have to stick with Emory Jones in this one.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for Florida fans, I agree with you. I don't think either one of your quarterbacks coming back are any good, even with Dan Mullen. And yeah, I know Dan Mullen is sort of considered a quarterback whisperer and a genius with working with quarterbacks and stuff like that. But there, you only can work with what you have, and I'm just not convinced that the guys you have coming back are any good, even with Dan Mullen. So I think the best case scenario for Florida is that Emory Jones shows up on campus and is just obviously the best quarterback, and so Dan Mullen has no choice but to play him. He's a freshman. He'll make some mistakes, no doubt about it. But, that's the thing with Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen can win 6 games a year with a bad quarterback, but if he can get a good quarterback that fits his style and understands his system, Dan Mullen can be a dangerous coach. So it remains to be seen. All the eggs right now, if you're a Florida fan, I think are in the Emory Jones basket, because I don't know very many Florida fans who are happy with their returning quarterbacks.
If there are any, they're probably as well shark rate this, so they can take a hike as well.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Lou.
I appreciate the call. Yeah. He threw in a little McElwain joke there at the end. Anyway, thanks for the call, Florida fan there. That's the big question at Florida this year, is the quarterback situation. I have questions about Florida's defense, too. I predicted before last season that their defense would be a little bit worse, and it was, and now almost all of Muschamp's defensive recruits are gone, and Mullen's not necessarily considered a defensive guy, so we'll see what happens with the defense, but I do think the offense will be better under Mullen. I mean, let's be real, it can't get any worse. I mean, they were just god-awful the last 2 years. Hey, good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hey, Uncle Lou. How's it going?
Hey, good.
I think I got to the show a little bit late, but I saw the topics up there. I'm a huge Alabama fan, and I just wanted to know what your position was on the Hurts or Tua thing, because in my opinion, it's Tua, and it ain't even close.
As a football fan who watches football and tries to say, well, this player is better than that player, I think Tua should get the start. As a Georgia fan, I'm praying that Jalen Hurts gets the start, but I think Saban will go with Tua.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line is all the argument is nonsense anyway, because it's going to be Saban's choice, and that's the way it's going to be. But
yeah,
I just wanted to talk to you for a second, tell you I love the show, and I appreciate you taking my call.
Yeah, I appreciate the call. Have a good day. No, it's always weird to me when somebody calls up and is nice. I'm always expecting the worst from people, and it's because the trolls are undefeated. That's mainly why. So, Alan, if you're watching, you need to call that number I gave you, and I'll answer. The problem is when the app's ringing now. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. This is the ultimate
Troll, I'm back. I'm just letting you know I don't have much time, but I plan on calling you again next Monday. Have a great day, Uncle Lou.
Yeah, you seem like a very busy person. Yeah, you seem like a very busy person. Thank you for calling me to tell me that you're calling me next Monday. Thank you. That means a lot to me, sir. Troll alert. Troll alert. Hey, good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou. Troll-a-lo-lo-lo. Troll-a-lo-lo-lo. Troll-a-lo-lo-lo-lo.
What do you think about Tennessee going?
Troll-a-lo-lo-lo-lo. Yeah, 1 second. I can hold on 1 second. Okay, that's it. I gave you what you asked for. You asked me 1 second. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
Good morning, Uncle Lou. Alan Vilvins, long-time listener, first-time caller. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, sir. I appreciate the call.
No problem. 2 quick questions on my mind. Serious questions. Excited that Coach Fountain is back for another year. I thought our special teams last year was outstanding compared to the previous administration. Kicking, punting, blocking kicks, getting in on punts, unbelievable improvement. Do you feel that the punting position is wide open this year, or do you think they're going to give the Marshall Long guy who has a broken kneecap every opportunity to win it, or does the super toe Jake Camarda out of Norcross automatically win the position?
I think it's probably going to be Camarda at punter. Now, we were blessed last year with Nizialak or whatever the heck his name was, but that was a one-hit wonder. Yeah, that was a one-hit wonder for him. He was transfer in. So we were blessed with him. The guy was money punting the ball last year. And I agree with you in that special teams has not been a bright spot for UGA as of late, with the exception of this past year. And I would also argue the point that this past year was Georgia's most successful season in quite some time, and that there's a very good possibility that those two things are related. People don't take special teams seriously, but special teams can easily win you or lose you 1 or 2 games a year.
Absolutely. Quick question before I let you go, Lou. You were in Athens a few days ago looking at the West End Zone expansion.
Uh-huh.
I see the cost of the expansion. I see what they're going to build with the expansion. Has anyone actually quoted whether it will change capacity with this expansion?
My understanding is that it won't.
Everything will stay the same.
That's my understanding. Now, I could be wrong. I have asked that question a couple of times and have been told no. Now, obviously, they're not closing that end zone in. So we're not going from, we're at 93 now. We're not going to be at 100,000. They're not closing that end zone in. That's probably never going to happen.
Right.
The best I can tell from being there is that it's going to be the same or very, very close to the same. They basically just tore the old scoreboard down. Now they're rebuilding it, and they're doing a bunch of work underneath the stands on that side of the end zone, giving Georgia finally a home locker room to have. But I don't think it's going to have much of an impact at all on capacity, if any impact at all.
All right, Lou, thanks for the info. You have a good day.
You too. Thanks for the call. Yeah, I mean, I'll be interested to see what it looks like on G-Day when I go up there in April for the spring game. But I haven't heard anything about it affecting the capacity of the stadium one way or the other. I seriously doubt they would do anything that would lower the capacity. And like I said, they're not closing that end zone in. I mean, that's just not happening. So, You know, a lot of fans I know want us to get up to the 100K mark to compete with the Tennessees and the Michigans of the world and whatever. I would rather leave it like it is and be at 93 to 95K. I like that bridge. I think it's something unique to Sanford Stadium. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
What position group do you think is not getting as much hype? We talked about Dixie and the running back. What position do you think is getting a little underrated in this position class?
I'm having a hard time understanding what you're saying. Make sure you're speaking a little louder than normal, and make sure you're speaking directly into the phone, because I'll be honest, the only words I heard you say were running back.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I was just saying, what part of this team class do you think might be being all underrated? There's all the talk about Justin Fields and the running backs. Is there a position group you think is getting a little overshadowed?
What team?
For Georgia.
Who might be underrated?
Like what position group? The quarterback.
What position group is underrated? Yeah, well, I wouldn't put quarterback at underrated, because everyone knows we have 2 5-stars on the roster. I wouldn't put running back at underrated, because we're blessed beyond everyone's wildest imagination with running backs. I think our most underrated group this year might be the offensive line. Georgia has struggled on the offensive line, particularly 2 years ago. And even last year, I think Chaney and Pittman did a good job of masking a lot of our problems along the offensive line. But even last year, we had the smallest offensive line in the SEC. We had multiple players playing out of position. Isaiah Wynn is not a tackle, and you'll find that out when the draft rolls around. He'll be a guard in the NFL. He's not big enough to be a tackle in the SEC. He's too short, and he doesn't have the wingspan. Gaillard is not a center. He's a guard. We really didn't have a center. Now, Gaillard is probably going to be our center again this year, but we're going to have 2 legitimate tackles this year. My prediction, I think you'll see Andrew Thomas at left tackle and Isaiah Wilson at right tackle. I think our offensive line is probably the most underrated position group. I think we have a chance to go from having the worst offensive lines in the SEC 2 years ago to having one of the best offensive lines in the SEC this year and the next couple of years.
Yeah, offensive lines are really hard position to transition from high school to college. I met some people who played offensive line in college, and they said it's one of the hardest parts of their life and their football career. Running back and wide receiver really kind of go from high school to college. So I agree. Linemen, we might have a really good line next year.
All right, thanks for the call. I had a hard time hearing him at the end there. He said he had some friends that played offensive line in college, and they said it was really hard. I say all the time, outside of quarterback and cornerback, I think offensive line is probably the hardest position to transfer high school to college. It's probably the hardest position to learn. The learning curve is the steepest, I think, for those 3 positions: quarterback on offense, cornerback on defense, and offensive line, particularly tackle. Troll-a-lo-lo-lo, troll-a-lo-lo-lo-lo-lo-lo. Good morning, troll-a-lo-lo-lo, troll-a-lo-lo-lo. Hey, guess what I'm gonna do? Guess what I'm gonna do for you?
What?
I'm gonna give your phone number out on the air.
Meow.
Yeah, I'm gonna give your phone number out on the air since you've called like 25 times and all you want to do is make weird noises, and then all your middle school friends at recess tomorrow, y'all can laugh about it, okay? But I'm gonna give your number out on the air, okay?
That's good.
Is that okay with you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna give it out. Thank you. 404-290-7683. If anyone wants to call the troll, lol. Let's see. Once again, that number is 404-290-7683. Call the troll, lol, and tell him Uncle Lou said, good morning! Yeah. But thanks for the call, though. Yeah. I really appreciate it also, and too. Let's see. Not sure if troll or not on this one. Good morning. You're on with Uncle Lou.
All right. Hey, can you give me 1 second? There are a bunch of buses around me. I gotta, so you can hear me better.
Yeah, I hear you. Go ahead.
All right. So, do you know who this is?
No.
Okay. This is the ultimate show. I found me. There's no need. I'm going to be a.
Oh, I thought you were calling back on
right?
Monday, though. I thought you said you were going to call back on Monday, though.
I found some time. I got a little bit of time. So here's my call. I'm going to be a night troll today, all right?
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Well, in all honesty, I'm an Auburn fan. Like, legit Auburn fan.
Okay.
And this year has been a weird year for us, you know?
Right.
We started out bad. And then went on to win, like, 6 in a row, then lost to LSU, and then went on to beat OU, and then lost the final 2 games of the year. I was going to say, after the LSU game, I was so pissed off that Malzahn, I wanted it gone. And now that we won, I think it was like, after we won it, and I'm going to reword this because I'm kind of rambling. I don't know if I want Malzahn gone or not.
I can understand that, really. I can understand that. Some years and some games, the guy looks like a genius, and then other years he looks like he's in totally over his head. It's hard to figure out Malzahn. I'll agree with you there.
Yeah, I mean, in the UCF game, I don't really blame him for that game because if you watch the game, we had like 2 offensive linemen sick, a few players didn't even show up. KJ was still hurt. So, I don't blame him fully for that game. I don't blame him for the SEC loss. Again, we had to be assuming injuries at that point to keep going.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you now, I expect about 10 wins.
I mean, my concern, if I'm an Auburn fan, my concern is this. Auburn is 2-7 in their last 9 games against Georgia and Alabama, and they just gave Malzahn a huge extension and raise. He's now making $7 million a year. The bad news is if you want Malzahn to beat UCF, you have to pay him $8 million a year. He's something like 0-4 in New Year's Day bowl games. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, sometimes the guy looks like he knows what he's doing. Sometimes he doesn't. I think it'll help that he has Stid Baloney coming back this year because at least you know what you're getting there. The last few years, Auburn's been kind of a question mark at quarterback going into the season. At least you know what you have now. Losing Kerryon Johnson's going to hurt. You're going to have to find another running back to run into the ground next year like you've done the last 2 years with Kerryon Johnson and Kim, what's that lady's last name? Kim what? Petway? You run these running backs, you look great, until November rolls around, and then you blame everything on injuries. Like I said, Malzahn's 2 for his last 9 against Georgia and Alabama, and Auburn loves the guy. I don't understand it. The bad news is if you're an Auburn fan, you had a great year this last year. You won double-digit games. That's great, but the bad news is you haven't had back-to-back seasons where you won 10 games since 1988. So breaking news, fake news, and alternative facts all rolled up into one. Auburn's not winning 10 games this year.
Well, see, that's where I'm kind of wondering where you get that from because we have most of our defense coming back. And really the only thing we need to replace is running back and a few offensive linemen.
Right.
And at running back, we've had 1,000-yard rushers for the last 6 years or more now. So I really think we're going to find a running back. That won't be a problem. The offensive line kind of, I don't know yet, but I mean, I think 10 wins is my expectation.
Well, you'll find out real quick. I think if y'all beat Washington, you can get to 10 wins. If you lose to Washington, I think it's going to be a rough season. Now, I'm an SEC homer, so as much hell as I give Auburn and Tennessee and South Carolina and Florida and all these teams, anybody that's been watching me for any amount of time knows anytime the SEC plays a non-SEC team, I'm pulling for the SEC team. So I'll be pulling for you guys against Washington. I think Washington's overrated. Ain't got no business being in the top 10 in the preseason or whatever where they are. And I hope y'all absolutely road grade them. We'll see. If you win that game, then maybe you get to 10 wins this year.
All right, thank you, Uncle Lou. You know, I was a nice troll today.
That was. I appreciate that call. That was good football conversation. And if you could somehow figure out a way to do more of that and less calling up and going, so your friends at the bus station can hear it or whatever, that would be great too. But I do appreciate the call. Like I said, yeah. Anyway, maybe one more call and then we'll wrap it up. So I don't know who's going to be the lucky winner to get one more in if you guys want. If not, you may sit here and listen to me ramble for another couple of minutes. Let's see who's in the comment section. Oh, that fan that can't spell his team's name is back. There's a Voltard in the comment section that can't even spell his own team. That's the weirdest thing. He was on here last night too. Hey, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Hey, good morning.
What's your opinion on Jim McElwain going to Michigan?
I thought it was weird at first, but then the more I thought about it, and no, I'm not comparing Jim Harbaugh to Nick Saban, but Nick Saban has done a lot of this kind of stuff at Alabama, sort of taking in college football coaching orphans, right? Took in Lane Kiffin, took in Sarkisian. Saban sort of invented the paying assistants who aren't really assistants. They're just analysts. They just sit around and study film and stuff all day. Michigan's sort of going down that road too. They've got two defensive coordinators. Now they bring in McElwain to help run the offense. So I don't necessarily blame a school like Michigan or any other school for trying to bring in as much talent as they can. I just question the amount of talent that McElwain actually brings. So I don't knock the idea of it, but I knock maybe the choice of McElwain. But at least McElwain got a college gig. Lyle, Butch Jones, got stuck at some high school. So.
All right, thank you.
All right, and have a great day, too. All right, that's it. We're going to wrap it up for today. I promised you I'd do a bunch of phone calls today, and guess what? Uncle Lou did a bunch of phone calls today. Yeah, if you ask, Uncle Lou will deliver. So it was a good show today. I really want to thank, again, Lawtide for coming on at the beginning of the show. I try to do the guests or whatever at the beginning of the show before the trolls take over. That's why we do it that way. And as long as I can keep it going, that's what we will keep doing. If you're interested in being on the show in any type of way, a guest, a co-host situation, whatever, don't forget to email me. Let me know. We'll see what we can work out. And, again, we do this every Monday and Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern for about an hour or so. And then we also have the live show on Tuesday nights and Thursday nights. It's a little different. It's not this same format. Usually I play a video game, NCAA 14 on the Xbox, with all the updated rosters. I play the viewers sometimes. I do seasons of Dynasty, whatever. It's mainly just an excuse to talk football, and the video game gives you something to look at while we do it, besides me, which makes a lot of people happy. So, again, thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks to everybody that called in. If you tried to call in and couldn't get through, I'm sorry. I do the best I can here. This is a one-man operation, which you can probably tell by the production quality. But anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. What's today? Wednesday. So this exact show will be back next Monday at 3. And I'll, as far as live videos go, I'll have another live video tomorrow night, the college football at 10 o'clock Eastern. And also pointless videos uploaded randomly on random days for no particular reason at all. To those that have been asking about the daily vlog videos, I did a couple of those, told you I'd do some more. one a week, once every couple of weeks, whatever. I actually filmed one, or am in the process of filming one today. I'll get it edited tonight and finish it up tomorrow morning, and so I'll have a vlog video, a daily vlog. What is it, number 3? Daily vlog number 3, uploaded for you guys, hopefully before lunchtime tomorrow. But anyway, I'm rambling now. Thanks for watching. Have a great day and an even better morning.